All right, so yesterday we saw the New York Knicks and the Brooklyn Nets make a trade. For the first time in 40 years, Mikal Bridges is moving on from the Nets, going to the New York Knicks, joining up with his Villanova brothers, Jalen Brunson, Josh Hart, Dante DiVincenzo, for a pretty big package. Bojan Bogdanovic to match the money, and 6 first-round picks, which is absolutely kind of ridiculous, the amount of picks. So to break it down, there are 4 unprotected first round picks from the Knicks in 2025, 2027, 29, and 31. Then they also got a 2025 pick from the Bucks. And then there was a separate trade that we'll also talk about between the Nets and the Rockets, in which it was basically just trading a bunch of picks. This Nets and Knicks trade was Mikal for Bojan and basically 5 first round picks. And man, that is a big package for Mikal Bridges. I'm not gonna lie. Like, we just saw Alex Caruso and Josh Giddey get traded 1-for-1, no picks at all, no second round picks, nothing. And now we get Mikal Bridges traded for 5 first round picks. I mean, this is gonna set the market for the rest of the NBA trade season, because in every single trade going forward, the reference point is gonna be Mikal Bridges and 5 first round picks, which is a lot. It is a lot for Mikal Bridges. He is not an all-star. He's never been close to an all-star. He's not going to be an all-star for this Knicks team. And it's like, wow, that's a package you would trade for a star player that you know you're going to win a championship. But the Knicks are doing something different. They're using the power of friendship. They believe the power of friendship will win them a championship. And I mean, from what we can tell, they really like Mikal Bridges. They believe they can still sign OG. And man, this Knicks team, had just made basically one of their best regular seasons in a long time. They could have made it to the Eastern Conference Finals if they were healthy. And outside of Boston, I mean, New York is as good as any other team to be second in the East, fighting with the Bucks and the 76ers. Now, Mikal Bridges is a good player. He didn't have a good year last year, but I think he was unfortunately put in a very weird situation where after the Nets traded away KD and Kyrie and they got him back, they kind of just vaulted him as their top star, their best player, and he was like the number 1 option in Brooklyn last year, which was really bad. Like, he did not score efficiently, didn't play very well on either sides of the court last year, and the Nets just weren't a good team. But in this role for the Knicks, you still got Jalen Brunson is obviously your top player. You still got Julius Randle, which I think a lot of people, including myself, kind of forgot because he didn't play in the playoffs, but he's still an all-star caliber player. And behind that, you got Mikal and OG and Josh Hart and Dante DiVincenzo. All 3 of those guys can shoot the ball really well. And I think in this role as the 3rd best player, 4th best player, I think Mikal can really thrive. He can focus more on his defense again, because he was all defensive team about 2 years ago, and he didn't really show that much in Brooklyn because he was, like I said, the number 1 guy, so he was putting more effort into the offensive end. But in this role, he's not going to be asked to play and to be the number 1 option. He's not going to be asked to be the guy to create offense for other people. That's Jalen Brunson's job. And when Jalen Brunson passes the ball to either Mikal or OG or Julius Randle, all 3 of those guys can create their own shot somewhat consistently. Like, Julius Randle can definitely create his own shot. Sometimes it's not the most prettiest. It can sometimes be pretty ugly. OG can drive on closeouts and hit threes. Mikal, even better, he has a little mid-range game, and obviously can shoot the 3 ball pretty well. So putting him in this role as like this 3rd best player for the Knicks is really good. And defensively, I mean, if they are able to keep Isaiah Hartenstein, which is looking like they're not able to, I think they should really trade Mitchell Robinson, because he's just been injured a lot more, and just try and re-sign Isaiah Hartenstein. I think then that would be really good for the Knicks. But the Knicks can have a lineup of Jalen Brunson, Dante DiVincenzo, OG, Mikal, Julius Randle, Isaiah Hartenstein. Any one of those 5 dudes can be a starting lineup, and they would have a really deep, like, 8-man roster. So I think for the Knicks, this is good, because, you know, you're a good team right now. That's the thing. Like, Obviously, this is a way too many picks for Mikal. Like, just straight up value-wise, he is not worth this many picks. But for a New York team that has made it, like, that were basically could have been Eastern Conference Final locks if they were not injured. They could have, and now with Mikal, they can definitely be the second best team in the league. Woj was talking about them stocking up on these wings to go against Boston's wings with Tatum and Brown, which I think is interesting. But yeah, man, the Knicks, they're like, we're good right now. The East is kind of wide open. Who cares about these picks? And to be honest, I can commend that. They're not, they're not fine with, okay, we could, if we were a little bit healthier, we could have made the East Conference Finals. We get Julius back, we go OG back, we'll be good. Nah, they want to, this is a win now move, and they're trying to win now, and I think they can. It is a lot of picks, man. I want to talk about the real winners of this trade right now, the Brooklyn Nets. Bro, I have been so mad about the Brooklyn Nets this entire past season because they had the worst future in the league. They didn't have any of their picks. They were stuck on Mikal Bridges being this number one guy, which he really wasn't. And look what they do. They get rid of that guy. They get a bunch of picks back from New York. And then they trade with Houston. And with Houston, they got back their own 2025 Brooklyn pick and 2026 pick. This is huge for Brooklyn because we know that they're going to be bad for the next year, 2 years. They knew they were going to be bad because they were bad this year and they didn't have their first round picks. And they were able to trade back their own first round picks in the next 2 years. So for the next 2 years, they can lose as many games as they want and it'll actually matter because they'll have their rights to their own picks. So that is like the biggest blessing for the Nets ever. The fact that they were able to get that done. And now they have 13 first-round picks between 2025 and 2029, 16 between 2025 and 2023. 2031. So yeah, needless to say, they have a lot of picks. They have 4 picks in 2025 of their own, New York's, the Bucks, and then they have a swap with Phoenix. And yeah, they just have a bunch of picks now, which is like so good for them because they weren't going to be a good team. And now there's rumors that they could enter a fire sale. Cam Johnson, Dorian Finney-Smith, Bojan, Dennis Schroeder, Ben Simmons, all of them are available. I don't see why I don't see why they wouldn't trade all of them. I mean, to be honest, it doesn't really matter what roster they put out next year. They're not going to be good. They're just trading these guys for first round picks. Next year, we're going to see Cam Thomas out there scoring 30 points on 30 shots by himself. Nobody else is going to be scoring on that team. That's going to be fun. But yeah, the Nets, absolute masterclass in getting a bunch of picks back because they had traded all their picks away to get Kevin Durant and all that, and Kyrie and James Harden. They traded all these picks for James Harden, which is why Houston had them. And now Houston traded them back. The reason that Houston made this trade is because they're currently preying on the downfall of the Suns. They got back a 2025 first-round pick swap from Phoenix, owned to Brooklyn from the Kevin Durant trade. They basically got back a lot of the Phoenix's picks from the Kevin Durant trade with the Nets and the Suns. So basically the Rockets gave Brooklyn back their own picks, and the Rockets now have the Suns picks in 2025, 2027, and 2029. Some pick swaps, whatever. It's a little bit confusing, but basically they're betting on the Suns blowing this team up eventually because they are a very expensive team. There is very little wiggle room for the Suns to improve. Just money-wise, they're like really hard cap in the second apron thing. Kevin Durant is pretty old. I mean, they just lost in the first round in a sweep. Offensively, KD, Booker, and Beal, you think that should work, but offensively, they haven't really made it work to look perfect this past regular season. And now going forward, the Rockets are basically just trying to like stranglehold, and they're waiting for this Suns thing to blow over, and either for Kevin Durant to request a trade or the Suns to just realize like, hey, this is not going to work out. We got to blow this thing up. which I don't think they're gonna happen. The way that this Suns new owner Matt Ishbia is going, I mean, he traded for KD, he traded for Beal. He doesn't care at all about the money, bro. He's just trying to get a winning team. So I don't know if he'll ever really, blow up this team, this Suns team. But that's basically what the Rockets are waiting for, because now they have the first round picks in 2025, 27, 29 of the Suns. So they're like, if KD wants out, if Booker is somehow going to become available, we would have the best package, because we could give the Suns back their own picks, and then they could be bad and have control of them being bad, exactly like how Brooklyn did. So, it's a gamble for sure. I mean, these picks can be valuable if it does blow up, and in this trade scenario where this thing happens, this could be a big brain move. But man, the Rockets had the Nets picks, and the Nets were going to be bad, bro. That Nets pick next year, that could have been the first overall pick type deal. But I guess for the Rockets, they don't really care. They're trying to win. They already got Şengün, they got Jabari Smith Jr., Amen Thompson, Cam Whitmore, Tari Eason, Jalen Green. They got a lot of young players. They're trying to win more games now. So I don't really think they care that much about Brooklyn's pick, even though that might be the most valuable pick next year. So yeah, all this to say, Brooklyn, A+++++. They finally picked a direction. Their owner, Joe Tsai, this offseason was literally like, we're thinking we're at a crossroads right now, and they picked the best side, because they realized that this team was they weren't doing anything. There was a team of role players that weren't going to make any moves, didn't have any young players with any upside other than Cam Thomas. And now you got all your own picks back. You can be bad as much as you want, and you'll be able to use your first round picks. And it won't be in possession of another team's. You're gonna have a lot of cap space, because Ben Simmons' money, Bojan's money, a bunch of their money, they're gonna have, I heard, like $70 to $80 million to spend next summer. I mean, that just puts you in a position where you have as much flexibility and freedom as you want. For the Rockets, I mean, this is kind of a gamble that you're betting on the Suns' downfall, which, why not? And then for the Knicks, the power of friendship, the Villanova boys, I think that they definitely are setting themselves up to be the second best team in the East. If the Bucks and 76ers can figure their teams out, I think it's definitely not a given that they're going to be the second best team, which is why trading for Mikal and 5 first-round picks is kind of crazy. 5 first-round picks, that's like you're trying to guarantee yourself a championship. And this doesn't necessarily guarantee it, but they just have such a good, deep, all-around team. And like I said, the power of friendship is undefeated. Well, we'll see. We'll see if it's undefeated.